All right, hope you're having a good Friday, everybody. We'll get started here in just a minute. Appreciate all the likes and shares. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And then we'll check in on the broader market and a handful of names. We're going to look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Sol, Ape, GMT, Mana, Luna, and then whatever else you want to look at. I need a shower. Been out in the garden all day planting tomatoes and cucumbers and squash, zinnias, sunflowers. It's finally safe from frost. I just jinxed it. Pretty safe from frost. All right, it's 2 o'clock. Let's go. So on the Nasdaq, we're looking at the 12-hour lower highs as our guide. We had a little bounce get going starting yesterday. We had a bearish reaction from both Amazon and Apple, and we are seeing the potential of a daily bear flag shaping up. We know the next week key event that we're looking at is Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern with the FOMC. We know we're going to see a reaction in the broader market. We're going to see a reaction in the metals. We're going to see a reaction in the dollar and in crypto. So we know that there is a key fundamental event coming up. And we also know that the burden of proof is on the bulls in the short term. Just got stopped out on Netflix break-even bottom fish attempt. So we know that the bulls have to prove it to us if we're going to hold support. We know the S&P 500 has a quadruple bottom of support. And the Nasdaq already dropped to a lower low because it has been weaker and leading the way down. Today it's a bear day. A lot of space for an hourly lower high to be the result of the next bounce. And just knowing that Bitcoin's only short-term hope here is a falling wedge, just keeping an eye out for the potential that the Nasdaq is going to attempt something similar, which would have me watching something like this. Don't love it, but just watching that downtrend support line. And again, I am a bear in the broader market as long as we keep setting daily lower highs. It's a very easy way to stay with conviction in one direction. So our new resistance, it looks like, is shaping up here, which on QQQ, new resistance now, 329.89. Short-term guide, as long as that level is resistance, bears are in complete control. I am probably still just showing all of my face, aren't I? All right, there's the chart. It's Friday. No one giving me a heads up. That's good. Anyways, QQQ 12-hour time frame, lower highs, Nasdaq futures, nice and clear. This is what I was looking at. This was the downtrending support line I'm keeping an eye on. We've got the quadruple bottom on the S&P 500 we're keeping an eye on. And we essentially, to break it down as simply as possible, we need a bullish reaction to the FOMC, or we're going to see another leg down, and we're going to see fresh fear lows in the broader market, which is going to potentially lead to Bitcoin testing its recent lows in the $30,000 range. We can say, yes, Bitcoin is continuing to hold on a bit better than the broader market, but it is not going to be immune to the broader market. If we look at Bitcoin USD divided by QQQ and check it out on the daily time frame, we can see we have been stronger than the Nasdaq for half of April here. We're not convincingly stronger. You can see we're chopping around sideways. We can see this weekly chart looks a lot like Bitcoin, but it's a bit more bullish the last 2 weeks. And if we look at Bitcoin, it's dropping to lower lows there. So we're holding up better than the Nasdaq, but we are certainly not immune to what the Nasdaq is doing. One more note, the Trader Pro free trial for a month is coming to a close here in just a day or two. So it's your last chance to check it out for free. Certainly recently we haven't had a lot of volatility for alerts to be useful. The most recent one that we had here was Bitcoin with its falling, I should say its oversold bounce on the hourly time frame. We hit a super stack getting to some extremes. So just pulling that up real quick. So the 1 hour super stack leading to a bounce, but we're still in the falling wedge, which is what we care about now for Bitcoin. So this is all I care about into the weekend. I've got a clear downtrending support line that we bounced off of 4 times coming back into play. I've got a clear resistance line, which helped feeling any kind of FOMO on the bull move that crypto saw yesterday. And we are looking to resolve this pattern and see a break probably I mean, the way that trading has been going, I wouldn't be surprised for it just to keep tightening up until Sunday when futures open. But definitely, this is the chart that I care about. And I know as long as we keep setting 4-hour lower highs, the bulls don't prove a thing. I should say 12-hour lower highs. 12-hour is where I'm finding the clarity. And Ethereum is doing the same thing. Just a potential 12-hour falling wedge heading back down to support. We know the hallmark of a falling wedge is breaking support with zero bear follow through. So we're watching into the weekend. If we see a support break, do we see zero bear follow through to keep this falling wedge intact? And a real aggressive bull is going to be looking for an entry off this downtrending support line. And a patient trader is just going to be waiting for it to resolve itself as the 12-hour lower highs continue to be our guide. And again, bulls are not going anywhere if we keep setting 12-hour lower highs. So this pattern would have to break bullish if anything's going to change. So that's nice and simple. That's all I care about. Dominance chart, not much going on aside from the fact that we've been going up the past couple days on the dominance chart. And that is telling us that if Bitcoin is in a downtrend, let's look at the 12-hour chart, and the dominance chart is in a 12-hour uptrend, it just tells us that altcoins are dropping faster than Bitcoin as a generalization, which is the more common relationship. So Ethereum, 12-hour, nice and clear, potential falling wedge. Again, we've been keeping an eye on this. Is this now our 4th day? I think Monday's stream is when this first caught our eye. So just keeping it simple because we've been playing off of these levels at least 3 times since then. ETH BTC just made a bear break because we were just above this support last I looked. So a big drop here, not a big drop, but a leg down, which is hitting fresh lows. So we are watching this downtrend now, and we broke key daily support. And the statement that we could make was, okay, we broke bear with no bear follow through, but we also are not changing the 4-hour trend back to the bulls. So we can't officially say that we've lacked bear follow through unless we change the 4-hour trend, which we never did. We just kept dropping down and setting those lower highs. So we can draw a downtrending resistance line here. And essentially, are we now going to shape up a falling wedge on ETH BTC? And if that were to be the case, let's just say these falling wedges break bull. And I have less confidence in them because of the general market environment that we are in. But let's just say that they were to break bull. I would be looking for Ethereum to be the bull to play because I would anticipate that both the US dollar and the BTC pairing of Ethereum would break bull from these falling wedges at the same time. So keeping an eye on all these potential falling wedges, but only the most aggressive bulls are having any interest in looking to play them. So now getting into some of our altcoins, Sol was standing out as our strongest of the 3 musketeers out of VET, ADA, and SOL. But the BTC pairing never broke resistance. So we had a top here, a lower high, and we're just keeping this slow grind intact. So bull's not proving a thing as long as that slow grind remains intact and there is no sign of a weekly high or low on SOL. Here we are testing the low and hitting a fresh low. Again, same thing, there's falling wedges out there, and that's the only hope for the bulls into next week. So we can keep an eye on this Sol falling wedge. And again, looking for that to resolve itself shortly. Does the BTC pairing have a 12-hour falling wedge? I'm sure you could draw one. You get the idea. There's a bunch of potential falling wedges, and that is the only hope for the bulls in the short term. All right, Ape. Ape's been where the action is at. Congrats to the bulls. Big time move up. Technically not hitting the all-time high on Binance, but essentially as close to an all-time high as you can get in terms of the lack of previous price history. We just very briefly went up to that level. But technically speaking, it is a double top. We did top out 2760 just under that level. And a little bit of a blow-off top. I was looking for the volume climax on this move yesterday, and I was a little bit early. I thought it was going to happen right here. And we did get one more big leg up. And then there was the highest 15-minute volume in the entire move, aside from back here in the initial big breakout. So that volume finally showed up. We also had a 5-minute little lower high for bears there, but essentially just the highest volume, the highest 5-minute volume is your volume climax. And to recognize a volume climax, you just start accelerating. And you can see the size of the 15-minute candles on Ape, just in terms of the percentage size of the candles for this entire breakout. It's a nice strong breakout, nice strong uptrend. And the percentage ranges here of the big 15-minute candles that then led to consolidation. This one here was 4.5%. This one here was 4.8%. And then that one that ended up being the top, 11%. So I was just one candle too early. I was just paper trading it because I don't have an ability to short Ape. But it was interesting to watch. And that's just practice. That's useful. Even if I'm not trading it, watching how that develops, I will absolutely utilize that information at some point in my trading career next time there's a blow off top. I've certainly utilized it before in crypto and in the cannabis space, and I will utilize it again. So always good to observe blue sky blow off tops. But from there, it was 15-minute oversold. We didn't get a good 5-minute oversold bounce. A weak one, well, not bad, 23 to 24, so that's a 5% bounce there. And then we rolled over, which then had us looking for 15-minute oversold to align with 4-hour EMA 12. Again, your best back burners are when your oversold conditions on whatever time frame align with an EMA. 5-minute oversold, hourly EMA 12. 15-minute oversold, 4-hour EMA 12. Hourly oversold, daily EMA 12. That's when there's a confluence of signals and you have a higher conviction because of that confluence of signals. So, Ape 15-minute RSI, we got down real close to oversold. Looks like it was front run a little bit, probably down to 31 or so. And again, right off 4-hour EMA 12. And now slowly climbing up. But what is the most likely scenario here? For me, it is a 4-hour lower high. And you definitely want to be paying attention to the fundamentals because there is this land sale over the weekend and you need X amount of coins to be able to do this and that. So that could lead to a potential temporary top as well if the demand for that then subsides. But currently, multiple 4-hour inside bars, if they break bull, we are looking for, essentially we need to confirm a 15-minute downtrend. We had a big pullback here. So a big pullback right here, but still recovering and trying to keep those 15-minute higher lows going. So when we lose the 15-minute higher lows, it's the first indication of the potential of a 4-hour lower high. And we're watching for an equilibrium with this amount of volatility from that blow off top to where we found the 4-hour higher low. That drop ended up being 25%. So a lot of range there that we're going to look to trade within. So bears are patiently watching for a 4-hour lower high entry. And we got the BTC pairing doing the same thing. Blow off top, 4-hour EMA 12, sideways right now, scouting the 4-hour lower high, using the 15-minute as our guide. GMT has been another move. So I oftentimes look for crypto altcoins that trade similarly during certain periods of time. Now, sometimes it's obvious sand and mana. They moved in unison, they're in the same sector. Sometimes they're in different sectors, but they still move in unison. And that was going back a few weeks. The Three Musketeers, VET, ADA, and SOL were all very similar in how they traded. So over the last week plus, and after the emphasis the last couple live streams, GMT and Ape over the weekend, they're getting a lot of attention. And I called them lower volume coins. And that's obviously no longer the case as Ape is putting up big time billions of volume, but that changed. We had very low volume here, little price history, tightening ranges, and then things open up and the volume starts pouring in. And that's because the fundamental event, but also a ton of traders who don't care about that fundamental event other than an opportunity for volatility. So we're watching GMT and APE. I'm just keeping an eye on them to see, are they going to top out roughly the same time and then enter consolidation mode, and their BTC pairings will then start to show some weakness, and then we keep an eye out for other altcoins to get the attention. It's certainly a selective market right now where a small amount of bulls are performing, but the majority of the space, again, the word I keep going back to is entrenched. When you have a name like Apple, let's go into the stock world, Apple, you have market makers on the bid and the ask, creating the market with huge amounts of shares of both. And the market makers are making the market. We have that in crypto as well. And over the years, we are getting entrenched with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And the more we're in a tightening range and the more volume and liquidity, market makers add liquidity by having a ton of shares or coins on the ask and a ton on the bid. And so that's entrenched for me. You're locked in, and it takes a ton more dollar volume to move things. And when you don't, a recent IPO in the stock market world is way more volatile because you don't have those market makers with huge positions entrenched. And it's the same thing with these newer coins that have less price history. That is where the traders are going to go to look for the volatility because we're not entrenched. So that's a concept that is both stocks and crypto. And you go to any recent IPO, hood back here, look at this volatility to start off. And now look at the volatility. We're tightening up, things are getting entrenched as opposed to wildly flying around with no price history. And there's a ton of these that you can go back and look at. So 4 hour, scouting the lower high on Ape. As long as the 4 hour uptrend is intact, the bulls are keeping control overall. And we're still seeing the same thing on the USDT and BTC pairing. GMT, that's who we were on. So GMT, I'm watching this potential rising wedge. Well aware that in a bullish market environment, rising wedges often break bull. As far as I'm concerned, we're not in a bullish market environment. We have a few names that are standing out bullish, absolutely. But because Bitcoin is weak, for me, this rising wedge has a higher probability. Now, if we were in a daily and weekly uptrend right now in Bitcoin, and we had some strong altcoins forming rising wedges, I'm a lot less likely to believe those rising wedges. But here we have another resistance rejection. This is a good one to be watching. If GMT rolls over and breaks 342 support, daily consolidation will then be significantly underway. We will be shaping up weekly consolidation if we break 342. So we look at the USDT pairing, or the BTC pairing, it's doing the exact same thing. So again, an aggressive bear is saying, a bull is saying, I need to be aware of this. Again, a bull, look at the gains, we're doing great, it's been a great run up, and we've seen such significant moves from 10 cents however long ago. Put on your bear glasses, you need to be aware of this pattern. Aggressive bears are looking for top fishing plays to try and position for weekly consolidation. Why would I be looking for weekly consolidation? Well, this name went from 10 cents up to $4.50 with a higher low every single weekly candle. We know that's not going to keep up. We know we will lose that pattern. It's just a question of when. So we're trying to pinpoint that when. And we're watching both pairings for those clues. And the 4 hour higher lows are key. Mana has been a lead bear. So you can look at this and say, well, Ape's getting all the attention in the metaverse space. Mana and Sand are extremely weak. And that is absolutely correct. Mana is the weakest it's been in a long time right now. It's been a lead bear for a long time. We are keeping an eye on falling wedges that have rolled over. Look at the BTC pairing here. The daily RSI is 22. And we go back and we have not been this crushed in a long time. So this tells me two things. Number one, I'm expecting a bounce in the short term, but if I don't have confidence in the broader crypto space, I am less likely to try and play that bounce. The other thing it tells me, if I'm looking bearish, I'm just waiting for a daily lower high. I'm waiting for a bounce. I'm hoping for a multiple day bounce to hit daily EMA 12 resistance and allow me another bearish entry opportunity. And Mana, it's the same thing. We can bounce on Mana 30% and still just be looking for a daily lower high. So lead bears, staying lead bears, and Mana just broke 170 support, and we're back in an area with no previous support now. And I'm sure we can draw some iteration of a falling wedge still. But it's the kind of thing where, again, only the most aggressive bulls would be looking to do anything. I do expect a bounce in the near term, but trying to nail the bottom on that bounce is definitely difficult. I would rather wait for the daily lower high. Luna. So Luna is potentially shaping up a weekly lower high. And you look at the Luna monthly time frame, and we're looking for the potential of confirming a weekly downtrend. So there's our all-time high. There's our weekly high or low at 75.67. Now we're bouncing and setting a potential lower high. We're forming an inside bar, which is likely to remain the case in 2 days from now when the candle closes. If the inside bar breaks bear, probabilities for a weekly little lower high and lower low will increase notably. And look at the BTC pairing. It's also looking at the potential of a weekly lower high shaping up. So we noticed the momentum, the spotlight fading from Luna during this weekly consolidation. And now we're watching for the potential that that's going to continue. So Luna is on a top bear watch as well for that potential. So I'd be keeping an eye on Luna and GMT as a couple potential bear plays. If we do hold this support level on Luna, this uptrending support line, I would go to the 2-day time frame. And if I were looking bearish, I would have to ensure that 99.43. Pretty much, if I'm a bear, I'm looking at this and saying, if we're going to shift from strength into further weakness in Luna on longer term time frames, 99.43 has got to be our weekly lower high. If bulls are able to recover and get back over that level, my thesis goes out the window. So that's the level that a bear is playing off of at this point. All right. Decent amount of stuff to be watching, even though it's been a bit of a boring market aside from these handful of names that are standing out with their volatility. There's definitely always some setups to be keeping an eye on. And I need confidence in the broader market that a bottom is being set before I'm going to be looking bullish in the cryptocurrency space. It's the kind of thing where, if I were up and at the computer and Ape was in 15-minute oversold conditions, I would have played that bounce. But it happened. I was far away in dreamland. It's not the kind of setup that I personally am going to wake up and play. But if I were looking to be real aggressive and looking to try and level up and take advantage of volatility, it is the kind of setup that I would wake up and play. So that's up to you as an individual. How hard are you trying to hit this grind? Because that's what I was doing in 2017. 15-minute oversold? Absolutely. I'm setting my alarm for 12:30 to check in on things, or I'm setting a price level alarm. Up to you. All right, now I'm reading the chat in YouTube. Feel free to ask any questions. We'll stick around here for another 10 minutes or so. Analysis nice and quick today because Bitcoin and Ethereum, we just got visual guides of these trend lines. Sitting on your hands, holding cash, better to DCA on the way down or when momentum has shifted. Don't want to run out of powder on the way down. All depends on your game plan. So is this a long-term no-touch position? If it is, I would dollar cost average based on time. And that would be it. Once a week, once a month, I'm making entries into a long-term no-touch position. Otherwise, I'm waiting for bulls to prove something to me. Because the last thing I want to be doing is dollar cost averaging in if we're about to confirm a monthly bear flag and drop down into the $30,000 range. So if it's a swing trade, I'm not just buying into weakness because there is not a high enough probability that the bulls are about to show up and take over for me to be looking for any bullish entries on a swing trade right now. Why do I use EMA 12 and 26? Because that was default on Coinbase. I was forced to observe them along with a couple million people in 2017, and I started to notice, wow, they are really great at being visual guides. Look at QQQ today. Look at the 15-minute time frame, and look at where you go bear. 15-minute lower highs, 2-minute rising wedges. 2-minute rising wedge. 15-minute lower high, most likely scenario. 15-minute EMA 12 resistance test. It's just a thing of beauty. It's easy for bears today. 2-minute rising wedge, 2-minute rising wedge, right at 15-minute EMA 12. Confluence of signals, putting the bears in full control on that drop. I just love EMA 12. EMA 12 and 26 also are a part of the MACD. If you watch the MACD, That's EMA 12 and 26 when those lines cross. ENS, we didn't check in on ENS. So ENS headed up to its key weekly resistance and is rejecting, at least initially, into daily consolidation. So now what I'm viewing it as is a tightening range. Bulls are going to look for a daily higher low to form compared to 14. We can go to the 2-day time frame, condense it down a little bit. Bottom line is likely to stay range bound for a while. Inability to break that resistance and putting us right back in the middle of this range, and it is a wide range. We could stay in this for another couple weeks. So we've got a clear hourly downtrend. We are scouting a daily higher low, but after we set a daily higher low, we can just as easily then be looking for another daily lower high, anything under 2056. So that tells me be patient. We're likely to trade range bound for a while, but keep an eye on it for when the tightening range breaks. Have I ever done CRV at some point? EOS. EOS is a potential daily, well, let's go to the 12-hour. Stick with consistency. If I'm looking at Bitcoin and the 12-hour is where I find clarity, I want to view it. I want to view all altcoins and everybody else from that same lens. Doesn't mean that will be the most clear time frame, but that's the starting point where I want to look at. So I would say resistance cleared 245, 238, so still setting some lower highs. Could this be an inverse head and shoulders? Absolutely, it's possible. So watching for the potential of a 12-hour higher low to form compared to 215. Now I need to go to the EOS BTC chart, and I can see it standing out a bit stronger the past couple of days, trying to set a weekly higher low. It needs a 12-hour trend change back in its favor, but worth keeping an eye on for the potential of that 12-hour inverse head and shoulders on the US dollar pairing. It's the kind of thing where I can look at this and say, okay, if Bitcoin breaks bullish from the 4-hour falling wedge, as long as EOS BTC doesn't drop to a lower low, EOS will likely benefit more than Bitcoin with its current setup. Do I have anybody doing on-chain analysis? No. I have no interest whatsoever in on-chain analysis. And I read about it a little bit, and then I watched all the on-chain analysis bulls talking about 100,000. And we saw how that went. So that makes me less interested. I have what works for me, and I shift around styles and I change in market environments, but the core of what I do is staying the same. And if I start consistently losing, then I need some drastic changes. But I am not in the market for looking for new things in terms of my analysis. They come along, definitely, but not actively seeking them. Link still weak, dropping to the lower lows. Lead bear for sure. Why is it a lead bear? Because Link BTC is at the lowest level in potentially a couple years here. Yep. As long as we are in a weekly downtrend on Link BTC, Link is a lead bear, a top bear choice, and a last choice for a bull. Regardless of fundamentals, regardless of anything, that's how we have to view it. We are testing 1140 support, which is, again, the lowest level that we've seen in almost a year and a half. So keep it simple. You can be a fan of the fundamentals, but it is a lead bear, no matter what way you look at it. Maybe that will change, but if it changes, Link BTC will show us that that is changing. And it's not. All right, I'm trying to catch up here. I'm behind. Already did ETH. You got to rewind. I'm definitely due for a Europe visit someday. I want to go to Ireland real bad. But it's the kind of thing where I need to set aside weeks. I'm not just going for a week. I'm going for months if I go. I should say when I go. I have it loosely planned for when Sweetie Pants the dog dies, using that as a catalyst for some international travel. Thanks, William. We can scout an hourly oversold backburner on Ape. First hourly oversold conditions. Again, just being aware of the fundamental aspect of things, because that oftentimes can skew those plays a bit. But we will be looking for a daily high or low and hourly oversold conditions, ideally aligning with EMA 12 on the daily. We'll see how it shapes up. I am watching the S&P 500 is close to confirming a monthly downtrend for the first time. It did it once in 2016, I believe it was, and then the other time it did it was 2008. And so I'm definitely paying attention. Again, I am all bear in the broader market. I'm taking way more bear trades than bull trades these days, and that's going to continue as long as we are in daily downtrends. Thanks, Brands. Doge. Did Doge ever set a 12-hour high or low? Looks like we're still range bound. Yeah, we got a double top and a double bottom. 13.5 double bottom, triple bottom. And 14.5 essentially double top. We're close to a support break. If that support breaks, you could say we confirm a daily downtrend. We fail the weekly trend change. So bears are close to taking back over Doge here. Doge BTC needs that 4-hour trend change for Doge USDT to hold this base of support. Blue and yellow background to show market open and close. I don't know where my blue and yellow... Oh, this. Right click, settings, appearance. It's somewhere in here. I don't know off the top of my head. Extended price, no. It's somewhere in the settings. It's just a little shade that shows you pre-market and extended hours in the stock market. RSR, BTC, all-time lows, not all-time lows, but years of lows, bears in complete control. I can tell it's low volume. .011 broke, lowest level in year and a half almost, heading towards all-time lows. Again, it's just a lead bear. It's just, if we stay in a downtrend on the BTC pairing, it's going to remain a lead bear. Just got to keep it as simple as possible. Just weekly downtrends, nice and clear for lead bears with their BTC pairings in downtrends. Deleting and blocking the repeat questions. I wonder if people think, like, if you just say the same thing 8 times, like, you think that's going to make me answer the question? Dollar, worth checking in on the dollar. Dollar has been a lead bull. It's cooling off a bit, finally. Daily consolidation underway. Tons of space for the daily high or low. We're going to be watching what this pullback size looks like, because we know a daily high or low is the most likely scenario. The question is, does it hold EMA 12 and look for continuation? Does it pull back significantly enough to set up the space for a daily lower high? That's all I care about in the short term. I can say right now the bulls are in absolute complete control. There is healthy overdue daily consolidation underway. How much of a pullback do we see? We can measure the retracement size. And we can see that we are still well above 382, keeping the bull flag on the table for now. I would exit swings long before 30,000 personally. I would not want to sit through a 25% pullback when there's already some signs of weakness. Who are my mentors? No, you won't know. Nobody will know them. There were some people in forums that I interacted with as I was starting out, and I fairly quickly exceeded them in terms of skill set. And I was just putting in more time and more effort. And yeah. But they were definitely a big help in terms of pointing me in directions of things to study. I haven't noticed enough of a relationship between preceding price action heading into the FOMC and the action after it. And this is after seeing years and years of reactions. It's just, for me, it's just a coin flip each time and watching how the dust settles. I don't think there's any edge in the price action preceding. All right, I'm done. Cody BTC must form a weekly high or low if anything is going to shift. Same thing with the USDT pairing. Really important for weekly high or lows to form on both, otherwise the weekly prolonged downtrend continues. All right. Have a good rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. Bears in complete control, burden on bulls to shift momentum. Falling wedges on watch. They're not high probability falling wedges. The highest probability falling wedges are when the longer term time frame dictates a higher low. If I'm scouting a daily higher low and I've got a 15-minute or an hourly falling wedge, that is a higher probability setup than a 15-minute or an hourly falling wedge in a daily downtrend. They're not the same. They're not created equal. And the current falling wedges that we have are not ideal in the sense that, I mean, I guess you could look at it and say, we're scouting a 2-week higher low. And if that falling wedge breaks bull, a 2-week higher low is potentially shaping up. But that's about it. Do good things. See you next week. Check out the Trader Pro free trial. It's coming